go.
Ah, thank you.
All right, so this is the brown hive, and as before, this is February 19th. Now, when we were at the garden hive, what you saw was mostly very well structured comb. Several of the pieces of comb here they're not the most orderly frames. All right, so this is one that I brought last week from the garden hive, just to give them some. Oh, that was not good. All right, give them a minute.
Okay.
I've been told every beekeeper has done that. Until today, I had not. Makes me glad for gentle bees because they're already mostly calming down.
Yeah.
Stand right there.
Okay.
You've got some in your orbit.
Okay.
There you go. Have some of that. That'll make you back up, won't it? So these settle down rather quickly after that.
Yeah.
Mostly. All right. All right, ladies, I beg your forgiveness. I'll try to be gentle now. Okay, so like we saw on the extreme ends of the last one, honey, but not a lot of nectar, so they're not storing stuff in here, but they have resources. Oh, well, on that side,
Wow, yeah.
I rescind that opinion. So to see if I saw just a few cells uncapped near the open honey, I would say they're opening it to consume it. But when I see a broad swath of it like that, I think they are, in fact, storing nectar that they're finding. So that's good. Put this back without dropping. Alright, so in order, that one was labeled frame 4, but oh, it was frame 4 from the other hive, so this was newly added.
Okay.
We've got, this one is unlabeled. It also came from the garden hive last week. So we're going to, this will be the new frame 1. This one that's labeled frame 1 will be the new frame 2. The old 2 is now 3. The old 4 is still 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Frame 3, I'm not sure how I got those out of place, but that will be 5, and then this will be 6.
All right.
And now that I think about it, because that one is so far drawn, I may need to, I think I will. I think I'll need to add another frame, and I think one location for that should be right here. Because when they start growing, the population, it'll happen fast.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so this is the frame that is currently labeled frame 3. And you can see what I was talking about the disorderly comb.
Right.
You look down in the middle, you can see they built 2 layers of comb on this one frame.
Yeah.
So I have no visibility to what's happening on the inside.
Right.
On the outside, we still have honey capped. And this may, the part that's uncapped may be opening it to feed on. Now, I want to peek inside, see if we've got brood in there. Still cannot really tell. On this side of the, oh, we've got brood there.
Yep.
And pollen. It's interesting, it looks like they're tearing down some cells over here for some reason. Maybe they realize that it's too close to the neighboring frames. Okay, a little bit of brood. Alright, so this is frame 4, also labeled as frame 4. Scrape a little propolis before I pull it out. There's the queen.
Yep.
Got a good layer of capped brood here.
Yeah.
Now, I won't be using this hive as a source for queen rearing, but I will be tracking the brood. I want to see a lot of good, healthy brood. So we've got some of these cells that appear to have been uncapped. And that's, from what I understand, that's an indication of what's called hygienic behavior. Meaning that they've detected that something's wrong with the brood in those cells, and so they uncap them to expose them.
Yeah.
That may be a good thing, or it may indicate some illness here. This colony came from a late September swarm, and so I hope we don't lose too much brood to that uncapping behavior, unless there's a real solid reason that it should be removed. And I have no idea what's going on in this corner.
Up there, yeah, I was looking at that myself.
Oh, there was a section of comb that stuck to an adjacent frame,
okay.
And they're tearing it down.
Yeah.
They're tearing it down here and up there, and that's good. Keep it tight. Okay, lots of brood on this side, and once again, some of it is being exposed for some reason. Okay, but a good amount of brood here for this early in the season. If we have a full comb of a full frame of brood, the rule of thumb is that a full frame of brood will turn into 3 full frames of bees, just covering the covering the comb later. Frame 3, the one I'm working on now, shows sign of some real good population. I don't know what they're doing there. They're sure all over that section too. I've gotten very peaceful right now. Now this one originated with a cutout. You can see this was a separate piece of comb.
Okay.
This was a separate piece of comb. This one was a separate piece of comb. And it was tied into this frame, hoping that they would build around the wire, which they didn't. And they've gone in wonky directions here and there. And eventually, it would be wise for me to just come in and remove sections like that. Just kind of to encourage them to tear that down and take it in a different direction. They're not fond of me doing that. Okay, but on this frame, more brood.
Yep.
Hang on to it, Scott. Don't let it get away from you. Pollen. So they are finding some pollen. Seeing different colors, so that's pollen being collected from flowers rather than coming from the pollen patty, pollen substitute patty. Now, did we already see the queen in this one? We did.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah.
So I see recent, she's been laying on this frame is why I wondered. I'm kind of curious. One of the things to keep an eye out for is swarm cells. And they could be built under this mass of bees, so we just want to encourage them to move aside enough for me to look at what's beneath. Nope. I think they're just maybe getting at, this was some honey. They may just be feeding. Okay, I'll just put that one back. Alright, this was a recently added frame. Not that recently added, but let's say they only recently started to go to work on it. This was just a bare sheet of foundation, and they're building those cells out from the foundation. Up at the top, they're pretty well built. These are low, very low, but they're nevertheless storing some pollen there. This side is more built out, but they appear to not really be using it for anything yet. Oh, so this one is marked as frame 1, which means it was the one that used to be right adjacent to the wall, and that's why they hadn't done much with it. And then last week, this was frame 6 from the other hive, and I brought it in because it had lots of honey. Lots of, so down here you see these funny little cells right there. Those were pollen, but you can see they look moist.
Yeah.
That's what's known as bee bread. They moisten the pollen with honey or maybe their own secretions, and it ferments to preserve the pollen for long term. So this has some long-term storage. You can see there's honey, there's bee bread. Just turn it. Probably nectar storage there and capped honey. All right.
Is there any reason for the color right there? As opposed to that?
It has to do with how the cappings fall and maybe the age. This might have been capped longer than that.
All right.
Do a little smoke.
Okay.
Headbutting me a little bit.
You gonna insert any new ones?
What's that?
You gonna insert any new frames?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I may just insert that one. Well, no, I don't know. The problem is these two are not so fully drawn out, and the more room there is for bees to expand in directions where they shouldn't, the more the likelihood of what I call wonky comb, cross combing, and that can get a headache to manage. So maybe I'll wait until these are drawn out a little bit more. One beekeeper has told me that the propolis can actually be the most valuable thing from a beehive if you harvest it and find a market for it. Because people who are serious into natural remedies and health foods will often use propolis in home remedies. And I'm trying to get the bees here out from that crevice. They are not cooperating. Alright, I'm talking about you guys right there. You need to move so I don't squish you. Thinking, I think they're, you hear the intensity of the buzz. Went too far with the smoke, I think. Look at them moving.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they're doing that. Come on, back in the hive. It's safe. There's not really a forest fire. Now, what I did not see was any sign of small hive beetles here. So I'm going to leave the protein patties there, because they also, while I did see plenty of, or a good amount of pollen there, I didn't see as much as in the garden hive. And I do think that in this more rural setting, they may not find as many sources of pollen right now as in lawns and gardens in town. So leave that there and the sugar.
All right.
Leave them both available for a little bit longer. Now, look down here. We uncapped accidentally some honey.
Oh yeah.
And that time we saw a whole nest of them and you know, a whole little ball of them in one corner. That was probably over a section of honey that had been uncapped, and they were trying to reclaim it.
Yeah.
All right. Spider there. Go away, spider. Let's get you back in there.